So good evening. Welcome to the pre-match press conference, Team England. Today we have the pleasure to have the coach, Philippe Neville, Philippe Neville.
Neville sounds better.
And Demi Stokes. As mentioned before, we are using the FIFA interpretation. So for today, we have the channels English, French, and Spanish. The ones who want to ask some questions, please raise your hand and wait for the microphone. And let us know the language that you're going to use. And, of course, introduce yourself. Shall we start? Who wants to ask the first question? Yes.
Thanks. Hi, Phil. Any injury concerns that we should know about?
Just Tony Duggan struggling, I think, to make the squad tomorrow. She's come on leaps and bounds since the last game against Scotland. It's just probably come a day too soon for Tony, but she'll be back with us for the Japan game, definitely. But everyone else is fit. We've got Demi back now, who's trained the last couple of days. Looked really good in training, so it's good to have nearly a fully fit squad.
Can we expect to see quite a few changes as we've become accustomed to with the Phil Neville squad?
No, same 11 again, I think, tomorrow. I think there'll be one or two changes. A couple of positions we just want to freshen up in, but it'll be probably much of the same. Probably again, I was pleased with the way that we played against Scotland, and those players deserve the right to go again.
What do you feel is key to improving the performance that you saw in the second half against Scotland? Have you identified exactly what went wrong? Was it a personnel thing? Was it a tactical thing?
There wasn't really that much that went wrong. My disappointment after the game was that it was the scoreline said 2-1 and it was never a 2-1 game. I thought the football that we played in the whole game, apart from an 11-minute period in the second half, was as good a football that was played probably in my time as manager. But there was an 11-minute period in the second half where we just dropped our levels. We give the ball away a little bit. We started to play standstill football. And like I said, after that 11-minute period, from 61st minute to the 73rd minute, we upped our levels again and kept the ball. I never felt in danger we were going to draw or lose the game. It was just the 2-1 didn't reflect, I think, our dominance on the game and didn't reflect the way that we played. And that was my disappointment at the end of the game. It was a game where we should have kept possession better in that period, which would have meant that Scotland wouldn't have scored with their probably only chance of the game. So that was why I was disappointed after the game, because when you're in a competition and you want to be successful in the competition, you've got to make sure that you learn from every game. And that's what we've worked on this week.
Before the next question, I must say that the time for the photographer is over. So,
hi, Phil. Katie Gornall, BBC Sports. The Argentina-Japan result, did that surprise you, and has it affected your preparation or influenced your preparation for this game in any way?
No, it didn't really surprise me because I think it was around that time where, you know, you looked at a couple of the games, New Zealand, Holland, Cameroon, Canada. After the influx of goals early on in the tournament, all of a sudden you saw some really tight games. I've got to say that the games that we've studied Argentina, I don't think we've seen them as organised, determined, as we saw against Japan. I think they probably caught Japan by surprise with the amount of determination and organisation that they played with. So we're under no illusions that this is going to be a tough game. Tough game because it'll be difficult to break them down. Tough game because South American opposition, it'll be man-to-man marking. It'll be defenders that want to defend and be aggressive. And we're going to have to show the same kind of quality that we showed against Scotland to get any kind of result.
only for the player. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No.
Demi, sorry about that. I think you were considered unlucky by a lot of people to miss out on selection for 2015. Can you just tell us about how big a moment this is now for you personally?
Obviously an absolute honour to be here. I think, obviously, like you said, disappointed to miss out, but I think, obviously, that's been and gone now. So it's just focusing on this World Cup and, you know, being the best player I can be and the best teammate I can be. So obviously delighted to be here and, just embracing it and just, enjoying the moment.
More questions? Yes.
Phil, Neil Moxley, Daily Mirror. I just wondered, you mentioned the impact of the 1986 World Cup on your own love of the game. Obviously, and 1990, but obviously England-Argentina featured quite heavily in that, and it has done since. Can you just talk us through a little bit about how your love for football was orchestrated and inspired by that, and also what the England-Argentina fixture traditionally means, the rivalry? Do you think that might affect the evening?
I don't think it'll affect the evening, but there is great history between both countries, and you think back in '86, the Michael Owen goal in '98, the Beckham goal in 2002 in Sapporo, was it? I think that was a standout moment. They knocked us out the World Cup in '98 as well. So outstanding history between both sets of countries, and another big rivalry. I think when we looked at this group, we saw the rivalry with Scotland, the rivalry with Argentina, and what you've got with this game is the football history and rivalry, and I think that's what we've got to handle tomorrow. You've got a country that is unbelievably proud. When you look at the reaction of those players when they got their first World Cup point against Japan, that was a special moment for their country. You look at they give their kids 90 minutes off school to watch that game against Japan. That's what it means to that country. So they're going to show that same kind of fight that you expect from any Argentinian game. They've got quality. They've got a little number 10 who I think is a fantastic little player, which most Argentinian teams of the last 20 years have got a special number 10. So there's massive similarities. But if you watch them play, they play like South American teams. And like I said, when the draw was made, the Scotland-Argentina games were games where you thought we've got to handle the occasion as well as the game, handle the emotion of the game, handle the rivalry of both Scotland and Argentina. And this is another game where we'll have to handle that kind of emotion.
Hi, Demi. Just wondering what you've made of the Argentina getting their point the other day, how much you followed their progress in recent years. Obviously, they had to sort of go on strike to fight for to get the equality and within Argentina, and just how much you followed that and what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, I think obviously like every team that they've fought so hard, obviously to be here for start. So I think it's a joy to see, and it was nice to see. Obviously, how excited they were that they got their first point. So I think, going into tomorrow's game, it's going to be no different. They're going to want to get points. So it's not going to be an easy game. And I think that, like Phil said, they're determined. They're a very proud country. So I think they're going to bring that tomorrow, and tomorrow isn't going to be any different for them. So I think we'll obviously, watch out for that. But again, it's just focusing on us and, what England can do.
Thank you. Phil, Rob mentioned some of the struggles that Argentina have been through just to make it to this World Cup. I just wonder if that makes you reflect on your own position at all and the support that you receive, and whether you feel fortunate to manage England in the era that you're managing them in.
Yeah, we feel blessed. I think we speak before every game is that we're not just playing. We're playing in an era now where we get a lot. We get an awful lot. The backing from the FA, particularly since I got the job, has been phenomenal. And me as a manager, want to make sure we appreciate everything that we're given. We keep our feet on the ground and earn what we're given. But before every game, we always make reference to the people before us that fought for us to get these conditions now. I made reference in my first press conference about the former legends. We had one of the ambassadors at training today, Sue Smith, where when Sue played, the conditions weren't as good as what we had it, and she fought for better conditions for women's footballers, for English footballers. So when we get to the likes of Kira Walsh and Georgia Stanway coming through, Beth Mead, those younger players now don't know any different than what they're doing, walking into St George's Park, the beautiful training grounds that they're training at the Premier League clubs. So we make sure that we are fully aware of the history and the sacrifices. We've got probably 2 or 3 players in our squad, Carney, Scott spring to mind, who have seen it, who have seen the struggles of turning up for training without balls, without bibs, without pitches, without coaches. So yes, we want to be successful at this World Cup, but my players want to make sure that the next generation are continuing to get better than what we've got. And I've got to say that when I came into this job, the FA told me that I would be back 100%, and they've not just backed me; they've given me more than what I wanted. They put on a private jet for us to Kazakhstan for a game that was nothing. And actually, I didn't even ask for it. They put it on for us. They took us to She Believes in great conditions, and what they've provided for us in the World Cup now is fantastic. But we're thankful for. I'm thankful for Hope Powell, for Mark Sampson and the managers before me, Mo Marley, for the work and effort that they did to make conditions better for my players. And what I would say when you hear stories about the Argentina and the Thailand team is that they're at the start of their journeys probably where we were 15 years ago. And they will eventually get to the level that they need to. And now I think the way that women's football around the world is being promoted, accepted and developed, I think we're all heading in the right direction. Sorry, Sue's there, by the way. I didn't see you there, Sue.
Hi, Philip. Right here.
Sorry.
Hi. Could you just talk about what you've seen from your attackers in training this week and what the mentality you want them to have going into the Argentina game, given especially that Argentina, not only was it their intention to defend against Japan, but they actually looked quite comfortable doing so for a lot of the match?
Well, we're planning to play against a team that will probably sit back and defend a little bit deeper than what Scotland did. So our attackers know full well that they were going to be not just man for man. They're probably going to have 2 or 3 players around them. They're going to be playing in tight spaces. They're going to be very limited opportunities for them to get on the ball, receive it, and create chances in easy possession. So we've worked really hard in our final third play in the last 2 days. Which we compare this game a little bit to a couple of the games we had in the qualifying rounds where teams defended, got men behind the ball, and it's up to us to break that defence down. But we've also got to defend well. Their 2 best players are their centre forward and number 10, or if she plays off the right. So we've got to defend well. We've got to concentrate well. We've got to sustain attacks well. And we've got to make sure that when the players in the final third get the ball, they've got they're relaxed and they're free to express themselves.
Hey, Demi. So we've seen Phil Neville make quite a few changes over the last few months, well, since he's come in. So you know almost that you're not going to be starting every game. Does that make your role off the pitch within the team even more important?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said, when you come to tournament football, anyone can play, and I think it's important to know your role in that moment. And it's not about who's better and who's this. It's everyone has a role to play. Everyone's got their strengths. So again, it'll depend on obviously opposition, what your strength is, what there is. So it's about just being ready, staying ready, and when your moment comes, obviously delivering. And I think if you look at our depth in the team, anyone can play, and everyone is happy. And don't get me wrong, you always want to play, but unfortunately, it's tournament football, and there's a lot of games. So, you got to be logical, and you just got to make sure you're ready. And again, being the best, whether it's the best sub, the best starting 11 player, whatever your role may be, is that you're ready and you're doing it to obviously your full potential.
Yeah, so I asked that question to KB, Karen Bartley, and she said her role off the pitch is to be happy-go-lucky, to share her experiences, obviously being one of the elder members of the squad now. What's your role?
I'd like to say my role is lead by example. I'm probably not your usual louder player. I'm like cool, calm and collective. Cool. So yeah, I am. So yeah, I just say like lead by example, and keep the standards high when and just remind people. But it's just checking in with people, like how are you, like are you okay, and making sure that everyone's together and we're all on the same page.
Hello, Alistair McGann, BBC. Phil, I was just what you mentioned there, obviously previous Argentina games for men's football. I just wondered if you'd referenced the 2007 game where Jill Scott played in the World Cup against Argentina, and whether there was a difference between referencing men's games as opposed to women's games for the England women's manager.
No, look, we haven't talked about my experiences of playing against Argentina. To be honest with you, on the men's side, I don't think I even played against Argentina. I think I was sub maybe for a game at Wembley, if I can recall. Maybe I can remember Pochettino playing for Argentina. I think it was after '98. But we haven't actually made reference to the men's history of this fixture. When we went to Qatar, I think Jill talked about her experiences of playing in the 2007 World Cup. But I think if you're talking about the rivalry on the women's side, they haven't got the history and rivalry on the women's side that the men's have got. So it would be silly for me to start talking about the Michael Owen goal and the Beckham sending off and the hand of God goal, because it actually doesn't make reference really to the rivalry and history on our side. This is quite a new, this is quite a game that we've not played that often. But the only thing I would say to the players today and yesterday and tomorrow is that this is a great footballing nation that we're playing, a proud footballing nation. You saw the way they were together on the pitch. I think when you come up against a real big power in terms of football nation, you're playing against a team with great history, and there are parallels with both men's and women's football. You look at the Brazil that are playing now against Australia. That there is a similarity. The way they play, the style, the never say die attitude, and that's what this Argentina side have got. They are. When you say about street footballers, you talk about South American footballers that have grown up playing on the streets, fighting for everything. This is what this Argentina side's got, which is probably similar to what most South African teams play with.
One more question? Yes, sure.
Jo Curry, BBC Sport. Demi, against Scotland, 4 players made their World Cup debuts, 3 of which are teammates of yours at Manchester City, relatively young players. How were they after the game? Bouncing off the walls?
Yeah, they were buzzing obviously to get their debut, World Cup debut. But I think it's good. I think it's good for the system. I think obviously if you look at the players coming through, it's good development, as you can see, and I think it's important for the women's game to keep getting young players coming through and give them that exposure. And I think obviously coaches in the past have been good at that. Mo Marley's very good at giving young players the exposure, and it wasn't alien to them. They enjoyed it, and they fit right in. So I think what we're doing is good, and it's good to see that the young players are coming in and developing, and they're performing on the world stage too. So it's a joy to see.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Philip and Demi, and hope to see you all tomorrow, and have a good match tomorrow.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.